Hey everybody, JJ here, back for another Saturday of Zoom networking. I have with me Chuck Billy and his phenomenal Novations team. Chuck, before we get into your presentation, I'd like you to introduce your team and tell us a little bit about you guys.
Okay. Well, Ryan Petersen and John Poindexter and I got together, I believe, around March 2021. Me and John and Ryan were part of the Sub 2 family, and me and John actually went to PACE's mastermind with about 30 other students in February. And that's when me and John, well, prior to that, me and John were in the accountability group, like I was saying, and there was all this talk about squatting up. And I really was like, what is this squat up? And once I found out, it means let's work within our community. So I brought it to our accountability group that, hey, I'm looking to work with some people, but I'd like to find people that are like-minded, know the Sub 2, know the creative financing part of it. And it made more sense to reach in within my Sub 2 community than to go out and, try to find somebody to join my team. So once we completed that mastermind in February, me and John had marching orders from PACE pretty much what to do. And as what Jeremy was, I caught at the end, there's the conveyor belt. We learned basically the conveyor belt, using PACE, showing us, everybody has a position on that conveyor belt in your business. And it really made sense, and it hit home for me and John. And when me and John got home, we decided, he already had Ryan working with us. And let's start a company. Let's get together, form our LLC, and go out there and team up. We need a visionary, we need an integrator, and Ryan's one hell of a closer. So we had a good start there. And so right away, we just started, like Ryan said, we hired VAs. We got all the programs we need for skip tracing and calling, everything we did. And we gave it a trial for about 90 days. And we realized that we weren't getting as much traction, like Ryan said, with motivated sellers. So we were spending a lot of time talking to people that weren't motivated. And so we did pivot and stopped with the VAs and went more, John, the integrator, found a more niche way to find more motivated people by stacking lists and finding people that are more motivated and want to talk to us, because when we're cold calling, we're trying to fishing for somebody to sell. When they're texting back to John, they're actually waiting for us to call back. So we actually got a motivated seller that's interested to talk to us. So it changed the whole dynamic from what we started to what we're at now. And, and along the way, what really kicked it into high gear for us was PACE through a Driving for Deals challenge about a month and a half ago. And all the Sub 2 students got in there, trying to help non-students, because it was non-students and students. We posted up that we're willing to help and team up with some people. And next thing you know, we had about 75 people from around the country reaching out to us. So we compiled our little bird dog team around the country, and we started holding Zoom meetings every Sunday at 11 o'clock with our team. And a lot of them hadn't done deals. A lot of them haven't talked to sellers. So we're putting them out there. We're showing them how to door knock, how to talk to sellers, and kind of building our little team. And I got to tell you, since then, what has been about a month, Ryan? I mean, there's just endless leads coming in, good leads, people that are ready to sell and talking to us. So like Ryan said, we're locking up some deals a lot lately. So we're actually looking to expand and grow, because we tell ourselves, wow, we're getting a little overwhelmed. We need to expand a little, get maybe an acquisition manager and someone else to manage us.
Yeah.
So yeah. Chuck, you'd mentioned John's role as an integrator. For those that aren't familiar with the term, would you or maybe John, one of you guys, like to explain to everyone what an integrator is?
Hey, John, I'll let you have that.
I'll take a stab. Okay. So essentially, you got to know your personality, where you fit in. And I'm more of the back office kind of person. I make sure we have email addresses that don't bounce. We have, just from beginning to end, Chuck mentioned there's a Zoom meeting. I create the Zoom link. I make sure everybody's invited. It's just more of the back end of things, make sure Chuck has people, Ryan has people to talk to, make sure everything's in order. And that's kind of a discounted way to say it. But then also, you got to be kind of mindful of what kind of data you're putting in front of Chuck and Ryan to call or text or what have you. So that's a whole nother subject that we could talk about another day, but it's essentially looking at your market and deciding, instead of calling 50,000 people in Atlanta, let's find the people that need our help. How do you find them? How do you get their phone number? And how do you put them in front of Chuck, basically?
Okay, that's great. That's great. Chuck, can I ask you, John's the integrator. Everyone knows your name for the most part, and they know Ryan too, but what's Ryan's particular role with the team?
Ryan's the monster closer. When I need my sharpshooter, when there's something that's a little complex, because Ryan's just a good guy to talk to, and he really has some great conversations with sellers. And so whenever there's something, and since we've been a little busy, I've been kind of delegated more to project management of some of the flips that we're doing, finding the money, making sure the projects are funded, watching the construction budgets. I just actually got back from Atlanta yesterday, checking on 2 of our novations. So we're that's kind of our roles that we are set now. Like I said, I think in the beginning, me and Ryan were just spending a lot of time, 8 hours a day, just talking to unmotivated people. And, that kind of gets old and wearing on you after a while.
Okay. Ryan, what do you really enjoy about what you do? What do you see as your role? Hear a little bit from yourself, a little bit about how you think the 3 of you guys fit together and the success that you've contributed to.
Absolutely. Yeah. As far as the integrator side, I have no intent of ever learning that stuff. Like it doesn't excite me. So when John came around, he's like, yeah, I can handle all the, the back office stuff, which is a huge role in itself. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. He also handles disposition and the transaction coordinating. So he watered himself down a little bit, but he's a main pillar in our business. And then Chuck, with the project management, the raising the private capital, we all have our platform and where we thrive. And so for me, I get a lot of excitement talking to sellers, finding their pain points, peeling back the onion, really seeing what's going on with the sellers and finding a solution for them. That's what I do. I thrive at it. I love doing it. And I come across genuine to sellers. Like I talk to a lot of homeowners and are like, wow, this has been one of the best conversations we've had. We want to work with you and your team. You guys seem genuine, seem honest, but overall, I just want to talk to sellers. I'm a lot like a Pace Morby. He has his Cody Barton. He has his Anna. He has all the people that manage everything. He just likes to talk to sellers. So that is what I find a lot of enjoyment, and it's conveyed across with the seller. And ideally, we just want to find a solution to help them out. And then that's it. And that's what I do. I lock up contracts. And, John opens up the escrow, gets everything going with that. And then we pass it on to Chuck. He handles the flip. He raises the capital. He gets all that going, makes sure the contractors are paid. And then I just lock up deals, contract after contract. And again, that stems to our street team that we've cultivated. And that's just, the people that we've reached out nationwide. Hey, are you having, problems with these sellers, or how can we help you? Can we help you comp? And these are people that just really want to get their first deal across the finish line. So they bring them to us. We hold these Sunday Zooms. We're looking to have, guest speakers moving forward, but every Sunday we hold these Zooms. We just help them. We help them understand the pre-foreclosure process or the probate process, or, how to talk to sellers, how to find the 4 pain points to qualify them. Mm-hmm. And then we structure a money, agreement with them on how we're going to pay them out on the deal, and they're happy about it. And then we get it under contract, we disposition it, it funds, it closes, and they're freaking happier than hell about it. And they keep bringing us deals. So
then you just do it again, do it again,
rinse and repeat. And we had the VAs. The VAs were great, but we didn't know how to train them. We had a list that I think everybody and their mom had. and it was super saturated. And so again, we're going to go back into having VAs because we're getting really overwhelmed with all the leads that are coming in right now. But yeah, so that's my role.
Cool.
in a nutshell. Hopefully I didn't go too long on that one.
Fantastic, brother. No, I think you're good. No, Chuck, thank you so much for bringing your team on today. And guys, when we get to the breakout rooms, we'll separate each of you to a different room, and you can continue to talk about your specialties and novations as that relates to that aspect. But for right now, Chuck, I guess we're about ready to kick it into gear. Okay.
All right. Thanks, JJ. Again, thanks for having me here and giving me the opportunity here to talk to everybody about this, because I found that the Novations, one of the best acquisition strategies out there, period. I love it. But about myself, I've been playing music professionally, touring the world for 35 years now in the same band called Testament. It's the logo right there. And I still am touring, still making records, still making music. I thought, this year, I'm actually going to be 60 years old, and I'm still rocking, banging my head, thinking I'm in a business that doesn't have a retirement plan, right? So first of all, I was thinking, okay, well, first off, what I'm going to do after music? I don't want to go work. What do I want to do? And I realized that, I love, flipping houses, working on houses. From the first house that we bought, and living in it, fixing it, selling it for a profit. And I'm in my 5th house now doing that same thing and just really loving that part of it. And so I thought, I want to flip houses. That's what I want to do. So in 2000, I believe it was 18, somewhere around there, I joined Fortune Builders. Again, thought, okay, I'm going to, I've seen a commercial on the TV and decided to give it a shot. Went through the program, and that's where I met JJ. First thing gathering they had, JJ was the first one standing out. He was the man of the hour in the room. So we connected and kept in communication over time. And shortly after that, another Fortune Builder student turned me on to the sub 2 community. And so during the Fortune Builder process, I'd only done like 2 flips, and I only learned basically, get a hard money, flip the house, fix it, and sell it. I had no creative knowledge of anything or aware of any of that till I got into the sub 2 family. And all of a sudden, there's all these different exit strategies that you can use and acquisition strategies to get properties. So as we're learning, along the way, I really put in and this is during COVID, I put in 5-6 months, just, after the world shut down, and just soaking it in, attending a lot of Zooms. Every Zoom Pace had, I was there. And I felt that, okay, I'm ready. And Pace kept, telling us, okay, when you're learning here, we're like snipers. When we talk to sellers, we listen to what they're saying, we key on key things, and we take our one bullet out and we use it as a sniper. Well, I kind of went into starting my first deal with that mentality, your first couple of deals. And I was very fortunate that, I was probably, maybe everybody relate to this, but when it came to really putting out your own money and doing your own flip, you get a little nervous. Like, I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to lose my friends' money if they're investing and believing in me. So that was the biggest part, it was hard for me to start, but once I met Ty Guerrero in our accountability group, I found, I called my first deal a karma deal, really. A little story, I was looking to flip a house in town, and the deal didn't go down. And a local realtor that's a very good friend of mine in the city I live in reached out to me, looking for some help with a client to move them into Sacramento. And I said, I'm going to do my good deed. I'm going to help her. No problem. I called her and said, hey, I can help out to move them. You don't need to pay me. I have a trailer. I'll help. And so she said, great. So she called me the next morning and she says, well, look, the couple is one's blind and one's deaf, so they really need help, you know. And so I said, well, yeah, perfect, not even for sure. Well, she called me a few hours later and said, hey, the son came through and said that he's gonna, you know, come help the parents. He's gonna come down. No need. Thank you so much, Chuck, for offering your help. And I felt like, you know, that was my good deed. As soon as I hung up that phone, a local contractor I know in my city pulls up right next to my truck, rolls down the window and says, hey, you know, I have a friend down the street here that's a retired plumber, and he has a house he wants to sell, needs a lot of work. Are you interested? I said, yeah, let's go have a look. So we went down there, and this was the owner, retired plumber. He was gathering a bunch of materials from different jobs all over just to put this house back together. And I think he actually did more damage to the house than good. He put, every floor was uneven. They had about 2 inches of mortar with flagstone throughout the whole house. Plumbing was shot, just kitchen, it was just really bad. And this was his dream house. Well, it turns out that he decided that he didn't want it anymore and he wanted to sell it. And so I knew that he had it on the market probably a year before that for about $550. And so I asked my friend, well, what does he want now? And he says, well, he'll take about $625. And I said, well, okay, let's have a look at it. And once we got in there, he ended up coming back saying, look, I really want $675. And I knew there's no way this house is worth $675. There's no way he can sell it with an agent because it needed so much work. It wouldn't pass inspections. There's no way he could sell it. He had to sell it to an investor. So I came in, and this is after learning about the novation, and just basically came in and said, I want to partner with you. I'll tell you what, I'll give you that $675. Is that what you need, that number? He said, yeah. I go, well, if I could get you that $675 net, do you think we can partner up? And he says, yeah. Well, tell me more. So I guaranteed him the $675 he wanted. I told him, okay, I'm going to bring my money to the table. I'm going to market the house, and I'm going to find the end buyer with my agent and sell it. And you're going to get $675 net at closing. And I'm going to pay all commissions, all closing costs, all contingencies. You're going to pay for nothing. And he said, really? And he really liked that. He goes, $675 net in my pocket, huh? And the house definitely wasn't worth it, but I was willing to pay that because I knew that I would have to put about $100,000 into the house. And this is when the market was just taking off too. This is about February, March of this year. And our goal was to get about 875 to 900,000 was our target ARV. And by the time we finished that project, we listed it, it went on the market and sold within a week for 1.1. So we ended up getting 300,000 over ask. And that was the first one, Novation. So here I am thinking, wow, unbelievable. I just sold $1 million asset, made $300,000, and I didn't even have to use my credit. I didn't have to get a loan. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. I thought this was the best thing ever. I felt like, wow, this is pretty incredible. And so that was my niche right there. And I was fortunate enough, my second novation, which I want to share, is something that really hit home, because when I joined Sub 2, what I really loved about the community was the go-giving attitude, giving back, being there to help people. We have all these extra creative tools to help people, to have more solutions to offer them, right? So I didn't realize till the second novation when I had somebody who had in San Francisco in the Embarcadero overlooking the bridge and the water, beautiful place, had a house that they neglected, and basically is an 11-story high-rise building that neglected the bathrooms. The grout disintegrated and ruined the floors and ruined the apartment buildings down below. And so HOA came and cleaned the place up and just gutted it. She didn't have money to put it back together or anything. She moved out and stayed with a friend in an apartment after getting a hip surgery over everything. And then COVID hits, right? And so she's stuck sleeping in a backyard lawn furniture chair for the last year with a bad hip. And she has a $1.5 million condo in the Embarcadero, and she only owed $250,000 on this thing. Well, she was just such bad shape mentally. She didn't want to live. She wanted to die. She told me that she didn't care about living anymore. And after talking to her, that it really hit me like, wow, I've never been put in this kind of position. You know, this is real estate, and here I'm talking to somebody who's wants to commit suicide. And so I said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's talk about this. I can help you. And here's what I want to do. And she just wanted to get away because she had very bad memories in there. So I said, here's what I want to do. I want to come in. I want to bring my own money and fix the place up. And I'm going to sell this property, pay off your mortgage, and get you some money in your pocket. How does that sound? And they're like, oh, if you can help me, I would appreciate anything. And so we got that contract. We got it under contract. We went in there, and it ended up turning out on that one that we ended up not doing the work. I spent about $6,000 because on top of it all, she was a hoarder. So the apartment was filled to the top with a path barely to get around it. The windows have never been opened in 28 years. The curtains, she never looks at the beautiful view. It was just a really sad, depressing feeling there. So I really wanted to help. And so when we got in it, this is my first time working in a high-rise building, and there's a lot of really strict rules about the elevators and scheduling and getting materials up there. And all I had to do was repair 2 bathrooms, but it was going to take me like 6 months to get this done. And in the end, she really needed to get out and get on her own. So she needed the money sooner. So I said, well, let me call some people in our sub 2 group and see what we can do to find a buyer. And that's what I did. I found it to Vince Lanza. He's a leader of our accountability group. He brought a seller, and we ended up selling that place for $1.1 million. And in the deal, I did tell her, I said, look, I'll do this. I'll do it for 10%. I knew there was going to be some profit on the table, because if I were to fix it, I was going to sell it for 1.5, but we sold it for 1.1. I put in $6,000. I knew she was going to have some money. So I said, I'll do it for 10%. And she says, no, I don't feel good about that. You're doing a lot for me. I want you to have 25%. So at the end of the day, for doing that, we walked with close to 200,000 on our profit. She got close to 700,000 in her pocket. What we did then is I found her a apartment in Walnut Creek. We bought the apartment cash. I brought my contractors in there, gutted that place, rebuilt that for her, got it back together. She's just healing over her second hip replacement. And she finally gets the place and moves in. And it was something that like brought tears, because it's tough, because it was so emotional when she said that I saved her life. Sorry. Over real estate, something I learned. So when the term, we're using these things to help people, it really was.
You know, guys, what Chuck's saying is just the fact. You know, we come in here to help people's lives. We don't know what we're running into till we run into it. And sometimes these people don't have any idea what's happening, which way to turn, which way to go. They've lost hope. They've lost faith. And they run into us. And they don't realize, you know, that sometimes there's a way out. And sometimes we come in there and we help them, and they think that what we've done is huge for them. But I'll tell you, what Chuck's done for them has been huge for Chuck. because he's helped them, and that gives back. You know, I'll let you pick up in a second. Just giving you a minute, Chuck, to try to fill some time. But you know, I know as I help people, that not only the people appreciative of what I've done for them, but to then realize how I've helped them and to hear them say how much I've helped them. It more than fills my heart. It more than warms my heart. And Chuck, I know you. You are just love, man. You have all the right intentions. You are genuine. You are kind. You are real, and you're showing emotion because that's who you are. I love you, brother. I love you. So let's
Yeah,
back to you.
It really got me because I came into this to give forward, and that's what the whole sub 2 was. And for my second creative deal to hit home this hard and to say, wow, if I didn't have this technique, I wouldn't have known what to offer. I couldn't afford to buy the house and all that at the time. So being there, and she had no one else to turn to. You know, she was ready to end it, you know. So when she told me finally, thank you so much, and gave me the big hug, and she got into her new place, it was very emotional. And you know, at that point with this, you know, technique, most of the time, you know, if there wasn't such a big spread, you might have just said, look, I'm willing to help you out. I'll get you some money to help you move on, and I'll keep the profit. Well, this one, I knew there was going to be like $1 million. I'm like, you know, that's just wrong. If I were to do this and take the $1 million and just pay off their debt and, you know, be done with them, that would have been wrong. I'm a big believer in karma, you know. So for me, that to me, the novation struck to me, because I'm like, wow, I just saved a life. Just you being creative and just solving the problem. And about the novation is, we've done up to about 7 of them now, and every single contract and deal and what the seller wants is different. And that's the beauty about the novation. You give them whatever they want. And that was the beauty about that one, is that I had the tools to do it. And the help from, like, you know, Vince came in there, Lanza, and helped me, you know, dispo that. And this was just the beginning of my creative journey, you know, and it just something that hit so hard, but it really opened my eyes how to set up and to look for the novation part when talking to sellers too, you know. And the first thing I know was, most of the time it's somebody who has a house who has emotional ties to it, and they think their house is, they want more than what it's worth, but yet they can't sell it with an agent because it probably won't qualify for a loan. So they're just going to sit out and hold out. So I've kind of learned quick how to identify that, what they want. And as we all know, whenever you're talking to sellers, it's always about price. It's always, if it's the price is right, right? So I always try to give them above, I paint the picture, basically reverse engineer it. Like, okay, if you have this house, what do you want for it? You know, if you were to use an agent, now let's go do the math and subtract, you know, 9% for, you know, commissions and fees and contingencies. Here's what you would put in your pocket. Is that what you're thinking? And most of them think, yeah, okay. Well, what if you would give me 3 or 4 months and I would put another 20 or 30,000 into your pocket, net in your pocket? How would that sound? Really? You could do that? I said, yeah, net in your pocket, and I'll pay for all closing, commissions, everything. All you do is sit and wait for me to finish the project and collect that net check. So that's what really kind of put us on our path for these novations. And through our street team, since we've been doing them, have brought quite a few to us. And I think me and Ryan always kind of go to that pitch, because when we have private lenders, you know, probably over $1 million of private lenders, it doesn't make sense to use all that money on one property to purchase it and renovate it and, you know, sit on it. I'd rather spread it all out without having to buy a house, without having to purchase it, without having to use my credit. That's even better. So, you know, I mean, in a nutshell, I don't know if there's any more questions, but I just want to kind of just identify what a novation is. And, you know, basically, you know, the novation relates to many things. It's not just in real estate. It's between any two contracts. And basically what a novation is, just basically two parties agreeing to new terms and putting in a new contract. So this is, your typical, real estate novation is the general. Real estate novation follows a general principle. And novation in all their fields except specifically applies to real estate contract agreements. So what we're talking about in this is the novation is that when I get my contract with the seller, I'm agreeing that I'm going to fix it and bring the end buyer. So what it's saying here is that once I bring my end buyer, I find him and I open escrow, my contract with the seller cancels out, but my addendum carries over to the end buyer's contract, which is the terms of how I get paid and how everybody gets paid and the lenders and everybody. So this is just a general, in a sense, it's basically just two people coming up to do terms on a contract. That's basically it. And like I said, there's never been a novation contract I've done that have been the same. Every seller has different wants, the guy on our first one, he wanted to put, if we didn't finish in 6 months, he wanted $150 penalty a day that we'd pay him. We knew we wouldn't hit it, but we're like, of course, well, let's do that. We even have one right now. We have two actually in Atlanta, and one of them, Atlanta, is a pretty extreme to give the seller what they wanted. They wanted $25,000 down up front for them. And then every 3 months, another $25,000. And these are deposits coming out of the back end once we close. They wanted all the holding costs paid for. And so that's a pretty big chunk of money, but we decided, let's go for it. The numbers work. It's just about putting the money out there. Everyone is different, but it's always just appeasing the seller. What will makes you happy, we can put it in there. That's the beauty of the novation contract here. Now, this is just a quick 3-page contract. Now, when we first were doing a novation agreement, like on our first deal, the seller had a real estate agent friend who wanted to see the contract. And of course, the first time we sent over our sub-2 contract, it didn't look something familiar to him. We took a standard California purchase agreement and kind of worked it together with the sub-2 contract and put this together. And I know Vince is on here. Vince helped me with the second one as well. And it's just laying out the terms. What we want to do is, as you can see here, just for the seller, we agreed to our $675 purchase price on this. And in bold letters, we made sure the seller wants to see that. We pay everything, all closing costs, 100% by buyer, all transfer tax, 100% by buyer, title insurance, escrow fees, no realtor commissions, no broker fees paid. This property is being sold as is with no price to the seller. So when I'm pitching novation to a seller, what I'm really selling them is the indemnification of the work I'm going to do, because we ran into sellers that try to do their own home repairs and either can say, my brother he knows how to wire a house, he'll do the wiring, and my other brother could do the plumbing. Well, if that house goes and burns down, you're still liable for that. So what I'm offering in here is that I'm going to bring a licensed contractor, an insured contractor, and I'm going to indemnify you forever, which means you're not going to be responsible for anything that happens to this property for what I'm doing to it. And most of them like that as well. They really love the net number at the closing. And I don't think I need to read all this, but what really made me understand this, and maybe I can share it, but if you really read this contract, you'll really understand it. And I learned the hard way, because I just learned it by every deal I do, is that the toughest thing is to find escrow and title people that understand the novation contract, how it works. Because they're going to tell you every time, oh yeah, we've done those, or we know that, we can do that. And then you get in the deal and come to find out, especially if you don't communicate at the beginning, it can happen to what happened to me. The first time is I didn't go over the contract with my escrow officer to make sure they really understand it. Even though they said they did, they didn't really understand it, because when it came time for me to find my end buyer, next thing you know, I'm not getting paid. My addendum didn't carry over to the end contract. So when they sold the property and the new buyer paid, all the money went to the seller. Now, you know, it's supposed to come right to me, but it went to the seller. Now, fortunately, I had a good relationship with the seller and it was no problem to pay us back. But I didn't like that position. So I learned pretty quick that a most important part of the novation is the communication with title. Read the contract, make sure they understand when I bring that third buyer, what happens to my contract when I bring that end buyer and we open escrow. They really need to understand that process, because yes, it cancels out, but they need to identify that the addendum carries over to the third end buyer. So that means I'm still what we agreed on by me getting paid and me, you know, everything 100% paying for everything that carries over. I'm still responsible for that. And of course, novations are all assignable, and we've done that for a few of them that we decided that we weren't going to work. And it's pretty cut and dry, basically saying that I'm going to put all my money to repair the property, and I'm responsible for all the costs. And I just make it really clear. I should probably, you know, if any of you guys want to reach out to me, I'll put my information in the chat and maybe we can go over this. I don't know if I really want to share it, but we can go over it. And if you ever need someone to help you navigate through this or come up with some paperwork for it, reach out to me. I'm more than welcome to help. But I think we're just fortunate enough that, well, I know Vince, and then they call me the novation magnet, because they've seemed to work, especially my first creative deal being novation, which has been pretty awesome. So, you know, I didn't prepare a big thing here. I don't know if you want to answer any questions on this. I don't know if I covered everything here, but I think that's pretty much about it.
Hey, Chuck, that was fantastic, brother. Gold nuggets, gold bombs dropping from the sky. I'm so glad to have been able to be a part of this call, hear these things, hear your story, see your heart. I realize I'm not the only one that gets kind of emotional out here on occasion. I've had more than a tear come down my eye on more than one occasion. So I love you, brother. I just completely relate to that. And I know a lot of people on the call did as well.
I see a nice question here that I like to answer. So,
go ahead, go grab it.
What other risks there are during this novation approach? That's a good one. I'm very upfront with the seller what I'm going to make, because you would hate to get to that closing table and at the last minute that they realize you're making what, you know? And so I always clear that for myself, I've always offered, you know, you can partner with us and be a part of the deal, or if not, this is what you're getting. And most of the time they'll say, well, is there any way we can share in the profit on the back end? Yeah, it could be. And you can also offer that as well if there's spread to do that. But also I just let them know that, look, I'm taking the risk, because if I go over budget, the market depreciates, I'm the one losing. You're still getting your net number no matter what, period. You know, if it appreciates, that's where I make my money. So I make it clear that, yeah, I'm there doing it for profit. It could be, you know, like in the one in Discovery Bay, that it appreciated by a couple $100,000. And right away, he's like, wow, I should have gotten that deal with you. But he was a nice guy. But there could be a time where you could get to the table and they say, you never told me that. So I'm pretty upfront with everything. I shoot straight with them on that.
That's great. You know, and on that, say, you know, the person wanted 675, I forget the exact number. And then it's apparent you're going to get a $300,000 profit. As you say, you know, you could have taken a loss. So how much flexibility might you have if they're like, oh my gosh, you're making all this and I'm only making that? I mean, is there a little
if it comes down to it and they're not sure about, I'm not sure about the deal. Well, what if, look, I have a company I have to keep my lights on. What if would you be okay if I made, or you tell me, what would you be okay to me to make on this deal for us to make this work? You know, yeah, you're doing something, it's fair. So if I know, okay, I'm happy with that as our money, well, great, you're working with me. Tell you what, if we sell it for 1-1, we're all happy. But let's say we sell for 1-2, that extra 100 grand, let's split it. How's that sound? Oh, great. Perfect. Okay, now they're in a little more of the deal. Again, it's offering whatever floats their boat, you know, whatever makes them happy and gets the deal done.
Yeah. I'm going to do one more question. We'll go on to the breakout rooms. Do you call it a novation with them or a net listing?
I just call it a partnership. I create it as, look, we're going into a partnership together on this. We're going to work together as a team on this. You know, and what you're really doing is getting somebody who's not going to have people walking through their house. They're not going to have to fix it up. They're not going to put money in it. They're just going to sit back and let you just do it all and wait for that check to come.
Mm-hmm. Cool. We had a couple other questions, but we'll hold those for the Q&A. Everybody, if you guys are watching the call on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Flip Side Up with JJ. We've got phenomenal speakers like Chuck coming literally every week, bringing you valuable content, valuable education. If you guys are on the call, hang on. We're going to go to breakout rooms and have the Q&A. And with those of you that are watching, Chuck and I are going to say thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you guys next week. Over and out.